The Trump administration is no stranger to controversy, and its latest actions have once again ignited a firestorm of legal battles and political debates. From immigration to education, Trump's policies have consistently pushed the boundaries of executive power, leaving a trail of lawsuits and a deeply divided nation in their wake. One of the most significant legal clashes centers around Trump's executive order targeting prominent law firms, including the prestigious Paul Weiss. The order, which threatened firms with the loss of government contracts if they maintained diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, was met with immediate pushback. Paul Weiss, in a move that sent shockwaves through the legal community, struck a deal with the administration, agreeing to provide $40 million in pro bono services in exchange for dropping its DEI policies. The deal, while seemingly a victory for Trump, has raised serious concerns about the erosion of corporate responsibility and the chilling effect on free speech. Meanwhile, the administration's immigration policies continue to draw legal fire. The Department of Homeland Security's decision to end temporary protected status for over 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela has sparked outrage and legal challenges from immigrant rights groups. The move, which critics argue is cruel and unnecessary, has left hundreds of thousands of individuals and families facing the agonizing prospect of deportation and separation from their loved ones. As the legal battles rage on, the fate of these vulnerable populations hangs precariously in the balance. The Trump administration's decision to end temporary protected status for over 500,000 migrants has sent shockwaves through immigrant communities across the United States. The move, which effectively strips these individuals of their legal status and exposes them to the threat of deportation, has been met with widespread condemnation from human rights groups, religious leaders, and elected officials. For many of these migrants, it has been their home for decades. They have built lives here, raised families, and contributed to their communities. The decision to end TPS has plunged these individuals and families into a state of profound uncertainty and fear. Many are now grappling with the agonizing choice of returning to countries they barely remember or risking life in the shadows of American society. The impact of this policy shift extends far beyond the directly affected. It has also fueled a sense of anxiety and unease among immigrant communities nationwide, eroding trust in the government and creating a climate of fear. Critics argue that the move is not only morally reprehensible but also economically short-sighted, as it deprives the country of the contributions of hard-working individuals who have become integral members of their communities. In a move that has raised serious concerns about privacy and government overreach, the Internal Revenue Service is nearing a deal with the Department of Homeland Security to share taxpayer data to help locate and deport undocumented immigrants. The proposed agreement, which would grant DHS access to a trove of sensitive financial information, has been met with sharp criticism from privacy advocates and civil liberties groups. Critics argue that the deal sets a dangerous precedent, normalizing the sharing of personal information between agencies without adequate safeguards or oversight. They warn that such data sharing could have a chilling effect on individuals' willingness to comply with tax laws and could disproportionately impact marginalized communities. The IRS has defended the proposed agreement, arguing that it is necessary to enforce immigration laws and protect national security. However, opponents counter that the agency already has ample tools at its disposal to identify and address tax fraud without resorting to such invasive measures. As the deal moves closer to finalization, the debate over privacy, security, and the proper role of government in the digital age is only likely to intensify. In a move that has drawn comparisons to some of the darkest chapters in American history, President Trump has invoked the Alien Enemies Act, an 18th-century law that grants the executive branch broad authority to detain and deport non-citizens during times of war. The administration's decision to dust off this rarely used statute has sparked outrage and legal challenges, with critics accusing the president of abusing his power and undermining fundamental civil liberties. The Alien Enemies Act was last invoked during World War II, when the Roosevelt administration used it to justify the internment of Japanese Americans. The law's use in that context is now widely regarded as a shameful episode of racial profiling and government overreach. The Trump administration's decision to invoke the act once again raises serious concerns about the potential for abuse and discrimination. Critics argue that the law's vague language and broad grant of authority leave it open to manipulation and could be used to target individuals based on their religion, ethnicity, or political beliefs. Section 5. A Fragile Peace: Navigating the U.S.-Ukraine-Russia Triangle. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has presented the Trump administration with a complex and delicate foreign policy challenge. While the administration has provided military aid to Ukraine and imposed sanctions on Russia, it has also at times appeared to cozy up to Russian President Vladimir Putin, raising concerns among some Western allies about the administration's true commitment to containing Russian aggression. Recent talks between U.S. and Ukrainian officials in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, focused on efforts to revive the Black Sea Grain Initiative, a crucial agreement that allowed for the safe passage of Ukrainian grain exports through the Black Sea. However, the talks were overshadowed by ongoing tensions between the U.S. and Russia, as well as by domestic political turmoil in the United States. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff acknowledged that the issue of occupied Ukrainian territories remains a significant obstacle to peace talks. His remarks echoed the Kremlin's claims of resident support for Russian rule in these territories, a stance that has been widely disputed by Ukraine and its Western allies. Section 6. Whispers in the Kremlin: Trump and Putin's shadow diplomacy. The nature and extent of President Trump's communications with Russian President Vladimir Putin have been the subject of intense scrutiny and speculation since the early days of his presidency. While the White House has acknowledged 2 publicly disclosed calls between the 2 leaders, there have been persistent rumors of additional, undisclosed conversations. The Kremlin recently confirmed that Trump and Putin exchanged portraits and that Putin prayed for Trump's well-being. These seemingly innocuous revelations have only added fuel to the fire, with critics questioning the appropriateness of such gestures and the lack of transparency surrounding the leaders' interactions. The ongoing controversy over Trump's relationship with Putin has fueled concerns about potential conflicts of interest and undue Russian influence on U.S. foreign policy. As the special counsel investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election continues, the specter of collusion and obstruction of justice hangs over the White House. Section 7. The Home Front: Political Maneuvering and Public Outcry. While President Trump grapples with foreign policy challenges, the domestic political landscape remains as contentious as ever. The president's recent announcement that he plans to host the Kansas City Chiefs at the White House for their 2020 Super Bowl win, an event postponed due to the pandemic, has been met with mixed reactions. Some see the event as a harmless celebration of American sportsmanship, while others view it as a tone-deaf attempt to distract from the administration's ongoing controversies. The decision to honor the Chiefs comes at a time when the country is deeply divided along political lines, and the event is likely to further exacerbate these divisions. Meanwhile, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos continues to face criticism for her handling of the nation's education system. DeVos's recent refusal to confirm federal responsibility for ensuring children's access to education, coupled with her suggestion that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a prominent vaccine skeptic, could play a role in school vaccination decisions, has sparked outrage among educators and public health experts. Section 8. Fortressing America: National Security in the Trump Era. National security has been a defining theme of the Trump presidency, and the administration has taken a number of steps to bolster the country's defenses, often at the expense of other priorities. One of the most ambitious and controversial of these initiatives is the development of the Golden Dome missile defense system. The Golden Dome, which is being developed by the Pentagon at President Trump's behest, is a multi-layered system designed to intercept and destroy incoming ballistic missiles. Proponents of the system argue that it is essential to protect the United States from rogue states and terrorist organizations armed with nuclear weapons. However, critics counter that the Golden Dome is a costly and ineffective boondoggle that will do little to enhance national security. They argue that the system is vulnerable to countermeasures and that its development will divert resources from more pressing needs, such as diplomacy and conventional military capabilities. Section 9. A Nation Transformed: The enduring legacy of Trump's second term. As President Trump's second term enters its final years, it is clear that his presidency has had a profound and lasting impact on American society. From his reshaping of the judiciary to his controversial foreign policy decisions, Trump has left an indelible mark on the nation's institutions and its place in the world. The full extent of Trump's legacy will not be known for years to come, but it is already clear that his presidency has been a period of significant upheaval and change. His supporters view him as a bold and decisive leader who is not afraid to challenge the status quo, while his detractors see him as a dangerous demagogue who has eroded democratic norms and institutions. One thing is certain: the United States that emerges from the Trump era will be a very different place than the one that existed before he took office. The country is more divided than it has been in decades, and the political landscape has been fundamentally altered. It remains to be seen whether the nation can heal the wounds of the Trump presidency and forge a new path forward.